I'd wager that at least 70% of people likely to have bothered watching Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina think of Sabrina as the 90s children's sitcom Sabrina the Teenage Witch first, and the comic book it was based on, which I don't know but I've been told had a tendency to be a bit darker, last. I mostly say that because people tend to forget just how massive the 90s show was. So seeing an actual horror trailer brandishing a franchise from your nostalgic childhood happy place may seem a bit weird at first, but apparently this new show is based on a comic book series that came out a few years ago that was a full-on horror reimagining of Sabrina, so, it's not totally out of the blue. Incidentally, while I'm here, I rewatched a load of old Sabrina lately, and it holds up really well. The first series is a bit quaint and cheesy and stupid, but series 2 and 3 consist of some downright hilarious little absurd farces that border on Python-esque humour on occasion. The one with the poppies is fucking gold. And then it turns to complete dog shit pretty much immediately in season 4 and never recovers. 2 and 3 are awesome though, go check them out, they're a lot of fun. Anyway, the new show appears to us from the creators of Riverdale, the dark, sexy reimagining of Archie, which I haven't bothered watching, but I'm alternately told is either shit or great depending on how old the person offering me their opinion is. This whole wave of dark, sexy reimaginings of nostalgic childhood properties, if done wrong, or just if you're doing it to the wrong property, can end up being really hackneyed and awful, and the results will either end up horrifyingly embarrassing in years to come, or in some cases from the get-go.
Fuck baby.
In the cases of Archie and Sabrina though, I can kinda see a bit more of a purpose in reimagining them for darker, sexier and adultier times. Fuck it. I can see a bit more of a purpose in reimagining them as dark, sexy and adult. Cause you couldn't really do the life and times of an American high schooler as cutesy and saccharine these days. No one would buy that. And Sabrina's always had a focus on domesticating witchcraft, something that people used to fucking kill each other over. And she's a teenage girl coming of age, so exaggerating the darker side of this story kinda makes sense. Makes a lot more sense than some ideas for dark reimaginings of children's shows. Hey, I've got an idea. Does anyone want a dark and sexy reimagining of Thomas the Tank Engine? That'd totally work, that would. Yeah, bet you wanna fuck the shit out of that train, don't ya? I am of course joking, but you would be surprised at the sheer size of the online Thomas the Tank Engine /fiction community, and actually no, you wouldn't be surprised, would you? It's the internet, there's porn of everything. Anyway, while the resulting show isn't perfect, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is a really fun little 30-minute light-hearted teen horror show. The only problem is that it's actually 60 minutes long and it seems like no one hired a script editor. This has slowly become a persistent problem with a lot of Netflix shows, like with Disenchantment that I talked about recently, except it's even worse here. I do like that Netflix isn't bound by time slots and episodes are allowed to have as much time as they need to play out, and I like the variety of one episode we have a regular length Black Mirror, next time it's feature length. But the lack of time slots doesn't mean that no one needs an editor at all. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is so flabby and overwritten. Okay, this scene here in the first episode where Sabrina tells Harvey she's a witch and she chickens out and casts a spell to take it back. The scene itself is padded to shit and with Sabrina beating around the bush for far too long, but when she finally cuts to the chase, it's quite a nice little moment. But then we cut to her explaining all of it to Ambrose when she gets back home in a conversation which does nothing. We literally just saw this and we cut to her explaining all of it. So much of this opening episode is superfluous and its problems are so easy to fix, and if it was maybe pared down to 42 minutes with ad breaks on network TV, the limitations would have done it a world of good because at the moment it's so overindulgent. Fortunately, the series does get better once Sabrina's Dark Baptism and the really, really rubbish third episode's out of the way. The Dark Baptism in itself is a bit of a problem in the opening 2 episodes because Sabrina will keep doing these long what should I do, get dark baptized and lose Harvey and my friends, or stay mortal and lose my magic bits, which are incredibly flimsy, and you pretty much know from the second she starts saying it that she's going to find some sort of workaround, because if she doesn't find a way of getting to keep her magic and the ensemble cast, then there's kind of no series. Seriously, did no one think of this? The episodes tend to be really busy too. too busy, in fact. The opening two have got this will I or won't I stuff mixed in with the plot, which would have been fine on its own, of Sabrina using her magic to get revenge on the principal for failing to deal with some jocks bullying her friend. And that stuff's good, you know, that's the sort of thing the old show would have done. Sabrina's idealistic and wants justice done, she enacts it herself, and then there are consequences. And no, I don't want it to be just like the old show. As said, I do see a purpose in reimagining Sabrina. It's just that once she summons spiders to get back at her principal at about minute 30, you're kinda just left going, okay, that's over. Now what? Oh, now she has to go and find this mallow mass or whatever it's called. Okay. Oh, and she summoned the familiar. Structurally, it's just very messy and disorganised. It will just keep throwing things out there one after another and rarely, if ever, tie it all together. Episode 4, which I quite liked, had this problem as well. While Sabrina's at the academy going through dark and nasty hazing rituals, her friends are investigating an uncle who's been possessed by a demon. Also, Hilda is helping Ambrose go on a date. Okay, that last bit just needed deleting because it's really not that interesting and the A and B story were fine on their own. You don't need to find something to do with every single character in every single episode. I only really started to appreciate what the series was doing in episode 5, which has got one core concept. There is a sleep demon invading their nightmares. It's still hideously overwritten, but it's got a nice little narrative through line and doesn't feel nearly as meandering as the previous 4. Also, another big problem is that Sabrina seems like a perfectly competent witch right from the outset. She can do magic, and the way she gets her revenge on the jock bullies in episode 2 goes down perfectly. So, if she's a good witch already, why does she need to go to witch school? Isn't the point of Sabrina supposed to be that she's a teenage witch and learning how to use her powers properly? The old show did that really well by playing it as a farce. There are some farce elements in there. The puzzle box that she's trying to solve in episode 4 was a lot of fun. That's the sort of thing the Quizmaster used to give her in the old show. And it is funny, it's just it doesn't feel as if it's aware of how stupid it is. The trial that the Witches' Council hold for Sabrina in episode 3 is fucking dumb. Like, really, really dumb. But it takes itself so seriously to a point where I can't even laugh at it. This is the type of thing they would have done in the old show, but it goes on for so long and with no punchy jokes to break it up that I just found my eyes glazing over and wondering why this couldn't have just been 30 minutes already. There's good bits in episode 3, but it's easily the weakest of the series. I like the backstory of the witch lawyer and I like the subplot surrounding Harvey, but just think here, imagine how good it would have been if we'd had a full episode of Harvey's dad pressuring him into getting a job at the mines while we flash back to his traumatic experience of seeing the devil when he got lost in the mines as a kid. That would have been proper atmospheric Stranger Things type stuff, wouldn't it? Well, how about we just have him tell that as an anecdote in a few minutes so we can make room for more pointless courtroom scenes that go on for fucking ever? Okay, a lot of this sounds a lot harsher than I mean it to. The show's by no means bad, but the reason I'm so frustrated with The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is that it could have been such a good series. I was ready for a full-on horror reimagining of Sabrina, and there's the seeds of a great show buried inside the mess that's made it to the screen. There's a lot of sharp ideas sprinkled about the place and dark humour. At first I was pissed that the new Salem doesn't talk. Oh, you think you're above a talking cat, do you? But I got used to it, and hell, it's a cat that helps Sabrina out of danger. As a cat person, I think that's pretty cool. And you know, the visual aesthetic and design is unique and interesting. Although whoever was doing the filter around the screen in pretty much every shot that makes it feel like I'm developing cataracts could have scaled it back a bit, but you know, it's kind of charming in a creepy way. It kind of looks like a really expensive spook house run by people who actually know what they're doing. It does look exactly how I'd want a horror remake of Sabrina to look. It's just that on the writing side, they are really talented writers who've worked on this, by the way, but they desperately needed someone to take charge and let them know when to stop writing, hit backspace, and go back and flesh that bit back there out some more. That's the key thing that they need to focus on, because all the other elements they need are already in place, and so many of the show's problems would have been so easy to fix.